Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to The Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Tailgate Ted, back in the mess hall, my man Rally Captain.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I got to tell you, I'm tired coming in from Dallas after the L, but hey, I'm here just like you are to give us a listen. Let's get it.
I want to ask you, man, I saw the pictures. I actually got a message from Jason Wright telling me he was going to stop by. How'd the rally go?
Well, he sent you a message saying he was going to stop by. He didn't send me a message. I got to tell you, it was, first I'm going to say to that comment, it was a shock that he showed up, and I'm glad that he did, because he was able to see the actual 250 to 300 fans that were in attendance. The general manager contacted me and said that it was a huge turnout, more than what he ever would have expected. And I got to tell you guys, it's because of the fan base that we have. Our fan base still believes in the team. We've got a lot of naysayers, which I understand. We've got a lot of people who are still on the rim, but then we have those true diehards, man. And so for 250 to 300 people to show up to an unofficial official rally, it blows my mind, and it's what it's all about. And Mr. Wright saw it firsthand.
Hats off to you, man. I mean, I know it can't be easy planning these things. I know it's frustrating that the team is not doing them. And for those that are wondering why the team isn't doing them, Riley and I have both had discussions as to why that's not happening. And, you know, he's on the record of, you know, when the team does decide to do them and they're able to do them again, then they'll handle it. But in the meantime, man, I thank you, because I'm going to be in Chicago and not sure what you got planned for it, but I'm looking forward to attending whatever you got going on, because it is frankly our job, not you and me, but our job as the fan base to keep this thing on track. Because if the team ain't going to do it or isn't able to do it, then we got to do it ourselves as fans. And I kind of look at it the same way for a tailgate. You know, they're not giving us something fun to cheer about on the field, and they're not having a winning record, but we like to say our tailgate's been undefeated for 20 seasons, even though the team definitely isn't. So it's just little things like that that mean a lot. And seeing that there were that many Commanders fans in Texas for a game that, you know, hit or miss, whether you thought we were going to win or lose, to me is phenomenal, on why this fan base is still alive, contrary to popular belief or what Twitter and social media is saying right now.
Oh yeah, because I've been going back and forth on Twitter with people, but before, I'm not going to stay on a negative. Big shout out to NBC Channel 4 for covering the rally. That was another surprise that I had, but you know, you were able to see firsthand just how enthused the fan base really is. And the thing about it also, Ted, is this, man. There are a lot of people who didn't give us a chance to win, but that's not the reason why they went to Dallas. They went to Dallas for a getaway, B, to link up with other fans who they may have seen or talked to on Twitter, Facebook, social media, period. And C, hey, you know, maybe if we did get a win, it will be good. But some people just want to get away from the DC area, and Dallas is a good place to do it.
And I know one thing I love doing the show with you is because you're not negative and you don't harp on stuff. And I hope I never wear off on you. I hope you always keep that positive vibe, that positive mentality. But I got to say something that's bothering the hell out of me personally.
What's
because you got fans attacking fans today online. You got fans attacking people on social media that have no monetary affiliation with this team. We just love them and bleed burgundy and gold, right? And just for example, the team just had a season ticket holder event at FedEx Field on Thursday and on Friday. I went to one on Thursday with my wife, and you got a chance to try some of the food at the stadium and meet Santana Moss.
Nice.
I got people attacking me, and, you know, then in turn attacking my wife. Why are you there? Why are you supporting them? Why are you supporting Dan? It's like, all right, attack me all you want. That's fine. You bring my wife into the picture, I'll come find you. So just putting that right out there. Number two, the team had another event on Friday, and this was a 40% off the team store event. As a season ticket holder, yeah, bro, 40% off at the team store.
I was in Dallas, man. I would have loved to have got me some new gear for 40% off, man.
So you had to sign up for different packages. They had a business package, they had an ultimate fan package. So depending on what package you signed up for, you got a chance to go 40% off. So I got a chance to go.
Well, so, okay, I did get that email, but I was in Dallas. So I mean, okay, I got you.
It's tough. I know. I mean, you're out there, you're traveling and you're doing what you are for the fan base. And before the discount, my total $100.
Ooh, geez.
You know, I'm restocking. The coffers are empty. I cannot go on Fox 5, ABC, all these other stations wearing Redskins gear. It is what it is. I'm not allowed to be on camera with it, regardless of how you feel. So if I want to continue those relationships, I've got to wear the new gear. And honestly, I like the new gear. I don't mind the new gear. I could have just bought one shirt. I could have just bought one hat, but no, I went a little buck wild and I restocked. Thank God I got 40% off. I'm not doing the math for everybody, but y'all can imagine how much I actually paid at the end of the day.
Right.
I got people attacking me because I am, quote unquote, supporting Dan. I'm sorry, man, but I did not become a fan of this football team because of Jack can't cook. I don't know about you. I don't know about anyone else in this fan base, but I did not start rooting for this team with my dad because of the owner of the team.
Right.
If
so hold on a second.
Yeah, sure.
Hold on a second. Don't apologize. I know you said, and I know it's just it's fervor, but don't apologize. You say what you mean, man. Don't say I'm sorry, but no, you're not sorry. Don't be sorry. Say what you feel, bro, because I'm gonna say what I feel. I'm not gonna be sorry about it.
You got fans attacking fans, calling into shows, going after people on social media because we are continuing to go to games, because we are, in your case, traveling to games, because we are still supporting this product. To hell with all of you, because we are fans of this team. And if you honestly think that Rally not going into an away game and those 250 other Commanders fans not going to an away game, or people not buying gear, or I finally got that Terry McLaurin jersey, buying that jersey of one of their favorite players is going to make Dan go broke, you're a moron. And yeah, I'll bleep this out later, but you are a moron. You understand, he is getting rich off of the NFL. The Forbes list came out. Dan Snyder's net worth last year was $2.6 billion. His net worth now is $4.9 billion. So you are asking me, Rally, and other fans to stop doing something that they love, to stop watching a product that they grew up with, to stop supporting a team that they ride or die with because you think we're going to make Dan Snyder grow broke? You're a moron. You're an absolute idiot. And I'm not going to stop. And Rally's not going to stop because we love this team. We cannot help who the owner is of this team. And we'll be here whether Dan's the owner or not. So if you don't want to sit in those stands, and if you don't want to rock that gear, then good for you. But stop coming after all the other fans that do want to support the players that are on that field, that are putting in their heart day in and day out.
And if you truly want to try to hurt him, as you say, hurt him, then don't watch it on TV, because each time that you tune in to watch the game, and I'm not telling you not to, but I'm just saying, if you want to talk all this trash, well, I don't support him, but if you watch the game, you're no different than Ted and myself. You just aren't. So stop fooling yourself, all right? Because the TV revenue alone is what also takes him over the top. It's just not gear, all right? So the time has come to stop that. And I've always said, and I will continue to say, players come and go. Coaches come and go. Owners eventually come and go. But what stays the same? The fandomship that we have, that stays the same. So think what you want to think about me and Ted. Go ahead. It doesn't mean a hill of beans, but you go ahead and think it. But every time that you think it and you spew it to someone else who is in the know, they will tell you, dude or chick, you're wrong about those two. You're wrong.
And it's not just you and me, it's these other people, because the tailgate, if they were ever to change that, then I don't have much left, because that is my outlet. Those are my brothers and sisters out there in the parking lots that I'm getting a chance to do stuff with and hang out and see. Some of them I don't see only maybe 8 to 10 times a year, because they're coming in from Carolina or they're coming in from Indianapolis, and that's our chance to get together. So if you're giving us a hard time for doing that or going to away games and these rallies, then maybe you need to take a hard look in your mirror and stop judging other people with how they enjoy something that gives them, frankly, something to smile about. Because the rallies and all these things that people are attending happen before the game. We cannot control the product on the field, but to attack people that are just doing something that they love just makes no sense to me. And, I don't want to harp on it. And maybe I'm hyped up because I listened to Rivera's press conference today and he started cursing a bunch on it. And we'll jump into that in a minute, but it just makes me sick, man. Attack the team for the mistakes, for the penalties, for different things like that. Don't come after Rally. Don't come after me. Don't come after other fans that still continue to support a team that we grew up and loved. Maybe think about that for a change, but unless you've got something else to touch on this topic, let's just bounce.
No, it's time to move on. Let's do it. We said what we had to say.
Man, it was a tough one yesterday. And, they had a shot to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys did everything they possibly could to keep the Commanders in this game. Unfortunately, it came down to a couple of things. And I'm not sure if you had a chance to watch the tape yet or look at it, because I know you just got back from Dallas. But
I haven't.
The penalties, man. The penalties were bad. And this is what Ron had to say about those penalties yesterday during his presser.
What were your thoughts on the penalties and just generally what was your message?
Well, I'm disappointed for the most part as far as penalties. Certain penalties are concentration, focus. Sure, it gets loud. Sure, the crowd gets into it. Sure, they're jumping the line, stuff like that. But we got to sit in there. We got to be disciplined. That's something that we as coaches got to make sure gets corrected. I mean, that was not good enough, because that we hurt ourselves and took ourselves out of certain opportunities. We're early in the game. We're moving the ball, and we get a holding penalty. When those things happen, that really messes things up.
There is no doubt that it felt like it was a one-sided game in regards to those penalties. But when you go back, if you go back, I would say 11 out of those penalties, maybe 9 of them were 100% legit and 2 were ticky-tacky. Okay. And it's tough to see in the stands, just because I know when I'm at FedEx and I'm in the stands, I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me, what the hell is that? And a couple of the replays, especially one of them on William Jackson, you're looking, you thought it was a good play. And next thing you know, when they slow it down and change the camera angle, he literally had his hand in the receiver's face mask. So there were times when I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? But also there were times when you saw them slow-mo it on the TV broadcast and Terry got bumped. Jahan got bumped. We had 11 penalties for 136 yards, and it killed us. The Cowboys had 4 penalties for 20 yards. They committed way more than 4 penalties in that game.
Oh, yeah.
And that is not why we lost the game, but this offense, they are not good enough to overcome things like that where they shoot themselves in the foot. And that is where my frustration is today, because we are in year 3 of this system. And yes, this is Carson's first year, but we are in year 3 of this coaching staff. And Ron Rivera said, he's got a 3-year plan. Well, we're 2 years and a quarter into that plan. And I am seeing mental mistakes. I am seeing things that I would expect to see from a first-year head coach. And this was a stat that John Keim put out. The penalties were huge. Washington failed to get a first down after any of the 7 offensive penalties they gave up. And 2 penalties wiped out 2 interceptions. One of them was definitely a defensive pass interference or holding, whatever you want to call it, on St. Juice. The other one, ticky-tacky. And it's just, you can't beat the Cowboys or expect to beat the Cowboys and beat yourself at the same time. You have 2 opponents at that point that you're trying to go up against. And that really is what cost us the game.
Yeah. So obviously in the stands, there's no replay as far as the visiting team at Dallas. So they took a picture of me where there was an interception, but it was called back due to some other penalty. And naturally, they didn't show the replay. So there's a picture of me in the stands holding my hands up because I thought it was an interception, and the ref called it back. So do you remember if that actually was a bad play to call it back?
No, it was. I mean, Benjamin St. Juice grabbed the guy. And for those of you that are wondering, it's Monday, October 3rd at 4:22. If you're listening to this, check out our YouTube channel as well. We'll have the video cut up from the game film so you can look at it, and I'll put it there in slow-mo and zoom in. BSJ definitely grabbed one of the guys on some of those routes. And, the thing that drives me crazy is Dallas did the same thing to us. And to me, okay, call it because it was apparent, but call it both ways.
Gotcha.
And to me, I don't want to get into loser talk and blame penalties for why we lost the game. We're just not a good enough team to overcome shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, we had to play a perfect game.
And
At this point, all of our games are going to have to be perfect games. And if we aren't perfect, then what happened yesterday will continue to happen.
It will. And that's what's frustrating. And I think one of the sports books just adjusted our win total down to 5.5 or 6 for the season. And, it's just, I thought we would get 8 wins maybe this year.
Yeah.
After this past week, I'm trying to think of where we're going to get our next one. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the show, because guys, we're 1-3, but it's not over with yet. We still have 2 very winnable games coming up in Tennessee and in Chicago. And I haven't told you, I hopefully got a Titans guy coming on Wednesday to join us. So don't jump ship yet, but I don't blame anybody for being frustrated. We're frustrated. If you couldn't tell, this is definitely an angering moment. And something else that frustrates me is the fact that they asked Ron Rivera, what's Carson's, ability to call audibles at the huddle? Because you saw, and I'm sure you did, see Cooper Rush calling him at the line of scrimmage a ton. Okay. And on the TV broadcast, you're hearing him yell, kill, kill, kill. That is Cooper, for those of you that don't know, changing the play or making it switch to a different, run left to right. That is an adjustment on their line. And I talked about it in our preview show. He has been in Kellen Moore's system for 4 years. He knows that offense like the back of his hand. And that is what scared me going into this game. The problem is, it doesn't look to me that they trust Carson to do the same thing. And this was a question that Ben Standing asked Ron during that press conference.
What's Carson's level of autonomy when it comes to changing plays at the line of scrimmage?
Well, for the most part, it's about going through, your progression, and that's on him. And those are decisions that he gets to make. And we practice those things. He works through those things. He understands those concepts.
He didn't answer the question. He didn't say anything about him being able to call audibles.
No.
And it's just
working through your progressions is not calling an audible.
No.
Come on, man.
I mean,
come on, man.
Give me a break. And I get that the reporters can't hound him because they want to get invited back and they don't want their credentials taken away. But we talked about this with Lou Holder and Ron giving doublespeak. And that's what I am just sick and tired of, because does he think that we're stupid and we're not going to understand that he's just giving us crap? Because that answer was crap. I mean, there's no way to put it. And it was very apparent to me and a lot of the DC media, if you were listening to Sports Talk today, that we got the ball back with 1:15 left in the second quarter, and we had 3 timeouts. We could have tried to drive that ball down the field and set up for a field goal or something. But They ran a short run play to JD McKissick and let the clock tick. They did not want Carson to throw that ball, drop back, and potentially have something go wrong.
Well, I know that I think it was after halftime, they did throw a deep ball and it was intercepted. And so at that point, I was like, well, technically, I don't like it, but it's almost as good as a punt because, I mean, he really, I think it was like within the 10-yard line or 15-yard line, something like that. So, I mean, I didn't like it, but I understood, okay, it's almost like a punt. So I'm not going to be mad at it. If you can remember what play I'm talking about.
It was before halftime. That was that drive I'm talking about where we had, and I'm looking at the game chart right now, we had less than 2 minutes to move down the field. So there was 1:04 left on the clock. The first play was JD McKissick run out of shotgun for 3 yards. That was at 1:04. The next play was with 26 seconds left. Right? They let the clock run down that much. And they have done nothing but coddle Carson since he's been here. The fact that they called him before they drafted Sam Howell, a 5th-round quarterback, shows that they are concerned about Carson's ego and what Carson thinks about himself. You are on your 25-yard line with 3 timeouts and 1 minute left in the game. And you let the clock die that much before you try and call another play. The next play after that was a short pass to Logan Thomas. All right, that's at 26 seconds. The next play after that, you call a timeout on 3rd down, and then Carson throws that interception. So, okay, fine, whatever, not a big deal. Because like you said, it's like a punt. But it was just frustrating to me that you are not trying to move this ball down. You brought this man in for his arm and his cannon, and you don't even give him a chance to do something with it when you've got 3 timeouts left. To me, that shows you are scared and you do not trust him to command your offense.
Well, okay, so I can understand that, but at the same time, Ted, I honestly feel as though the reason they did that is not necessarily what Carson is going to do, but what is the line in front of Carson going to be able to do to give him the confidence to be able to do that? That's what I see. Because I mean, what I see is on the defense, and I'm not a homer, but for the Cowboys, but I saw a superior product on the defensive side and inferior product on the offensive side. And
yeah,
you guys know I love my team, but when I'm gonna come down to it, I'm gonna say what it is. Okay, our interior line is inferior. We have honestly we've switched, and what I mean by that is this: years past, our offensive line wasn't the best, but it was up there, and we didn't have any offensive weapons besides Terry. Now here we are. We've switched. We've got all these offensive playmakers, but no offensive line to be able to stop that rush. And we've seen it for the 4 weeks now. So at some point in time, you've got to say, all right, whoever the scouting guy is, it's time to bring in some younger studs who can really make a difference. And we see that Eric Flowers, we're going to continue to do this every week that guard or that tackle gets blown up. Eric Flowers was on the freaking couch waiting for a call. And I don't know whose Cheerios he pissed in, but obviously he did. So they won't call him. But he was a big, stout dude. All right. And he improved every year he was here. Every year that man improved. So what's the deal? It can't be any worse than what we already have. There comes a time when I understand that we as men and human beings, we got pride. But pride doesn't win ball games. Pride does not win ball games. And right now, you know, there's a level of autonomy because it's almost like he can do whatever he wants to do and nobody's going to say anything to him. Is he on the hot seat? Nope. Del Rio on the hot seat? Maybe. But right now, no one is. They just aren't. And until someone can put some fire under somebody else's butt, it's going to continue to be the way that it is, man.
I agree with you. And good news is they did make a change in game. And this is Rivera talking about what happened and why Sadiq Charles ended up coming in.
The penalties up front, is that the primary reason for putting Sadiq Charles in at guard second quarter?
Well, I think part of it, but I also think, Trey isn't quite where he needs to be yet. And so the decision was to go with Sadiq and get him in there.
So they finally sat Trey Turner. We all have been talking about it. We've all seen it the past 4 weeks. Yeah. Trey Turner doesn't look right. And I don't know what they saw in him to put him out there over Sadiq Charles. And it's not like Sadiq is a world beater. They were hoping that Schweitzer was going to be your backup guard. But for those that don't remember, Rouye went out, and Schweitzer is also your backup center. So Schweitzer moved to backup center. Schweitzer is out. He's on short-term IR. So Schweitzer, your backup guard, got moved to your starting center. Now you don't have your real backup guard that you wanted. So now you've got to put Sadiq Charles in.
And as far as right guard goes, is Sadiq the plan moving forward?
Yes, Sadiq will be the plan moving forward. I had a great conversation with Trey. And the hardest part for Trey is he's just not right yet. I mean, he still has trouble with that leg, and it was one of the things that, we looked at and considered. And so I sat Trey down today, and we talked about the plan for him to get him, going in the right direction so that, when he's healthy, ready to roll, he can help us. It's one of those things that you've got to admit to yourself, and he's been great about it. We had a very good conversation, as I said. Sadiq will be the plan going forward. We'll continue to work with Trey and, continue to work him and get him ready to play just in case. In the meantime, we'll continue to try and develop that running game.
Is Trey's leg anything that would push him to short-term IR?
No, it's not. It's just now a matter of strengthening it so he can hold the point a little bit better, so he can move a little bit more fluid. It's it's one of those things, you rush a guy back and, that's on us, and we'll just make sure he's right.
You rush Turner back? Why?
That's what it sounds like he said to me.
I mean, you're sitting here talking about this plan that you've got with Curtis Samuel, and hats off to them because that plan worked. The part I've got such a big problem with is you are responsible for everything when you took this job. Mm-hmm. You are player personnel, you are coach, right? It is your job to put the best players, the best 11 on the field, but also have depth. And that depth, like you mentioned a minute ago, Eric Flowers is sitting on his couch. You've got, I haven't looked at it lately, but $14 million underneath the salary cap, I think. I could be wrong by $1 million or $2 million. I'm sorry, but you're not, and Eric Flowers is not going to ask for $10 million to come in off his couch. And who knows what shape he's in. Because if he was, we're not the only team with injuries. So let's be realistic. If he was a good option, another team probably would have called him up, and he might not even want to play. But the fact is, you did not go into this season prepared. And the lack of preparation is how we got to where we are. Chase Rouye coming off a major leg injury from last season, and you don't have a viable backup center. What took you so long to bring in someone like a Nick Martin in? And I get that Nick Martin had to get cut by the Saints, but you got to be telling me that Chase coming in off of, I think it was a broken leg he had. I don't even remember what it was, but some major injury last year.
Yeah.
And your backup guard is your next plan, or no. It was Tyler Larson, who also got hurt last year, is your backup plan to Chase Rouye. So your starting guard is hurt. Your second guard, your starting center is hurt. Your second center is still on PUP, and he is hurt. So now your third center is also your backup guard. it's that logic that I don't get from this front office when they're making player moves and they're doing things and they're constructing a roster, because it's apparent to me that they don't know what they're doing, or they're hoping that in a game in the trenches where it is unbelievably physical, that someone's not going to get dinged up and they're going to make it. And we talked about it. Hope is not a strategy.
No, it's not a strategy at all. And in order to be better, you got to do better. And right now, we're not doing better. We just aren't. And let's just call it what it is. So yeah.
Well, speaking of doing better, today on the press conference, they asked Ron, does he have the right 11 guys out there to fix this thing? And I sent a message out on Twitter to ask people to leave us a voicemail. You know, we're 1-3. It is not over, but people are acting like it is right now. And I asked, what does the team need to do to get this thing back on track? And I couldn't get any legitimate answers. And we'll go over those towards the end of this pod. But this was what someone asked Rivera today about having the right 11 guys on offense.
Ron, do you feel like now that you've done some shuffling, you guys have the 11 people on the offense that will be able to bring this unit back to where you guys want it to be?
Well, I think we have 11 guys that'll go out there and compete and do everything that they can to be successful.
You've got the right 11 guys who are going to go out there and compete. That does not mean you've got the right 11 guys to go out there and win.
And win. That's the difference. You got to listen, as my good friend Joe Madison says in the Black Eagle, listen with your third ear and look with your third eye. And that right there, my third ear said, huh? Come on, man. Because he knows. But he's got to be politically correct in answering these questions.
I get that. But he must think we're dumb if he doesn't think we're going to realize what he's saying. It's and on the post-game show, they do a bit where Jordan Giorgio and B. Mitch and whoever's joining him tell us what the coach didn't say. And what he's not saying is they're going to go out there and compete, but he's not going to guarantee a win. But I don't think he has faith. And he's the one that constructed this roster. That's why I'm so angry, because he's the one that got rid of all of Gruden's players for the most part and built this thing with his own hands. And he's also the one that said he's got a 3-year plan. And this was John Keim asking him, hey, what's going on with that 3-year plan?
Ron, you made the offseason, you talked a lot about your third year and taking that big jump. I know there's a lot of season left, but do you think you'd be further ahead at this point after a quarter of the way through?
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's like he says, a quarter of the way. I mean, again, we got to get going. Things got to happen. We got to make some positive things happen. You got opportunities. You got to take advantage of them. This was an opportunity I thought we could have done a little bit better.
What's your general feeling of where this team stands at this point?
I think this team stands where it's time to take another step. I mean, you look at the players, you look at some of the things that go on, you watch the entirety of the game, play by play by play by play, and you see enough that tells you should play better. We need to play better, and we got to continue to make sure we're putting them in a position to have success. And I like some of the things that we're doing, and we just got to capitalize when we're in a good position. I mean, this is a hard one because this is Dallas. We had a chance. We played well enough, but apparently anytime you get close enough or good enough, it's not enough. We got to get it going after them. I mean, when you play this team, this is a good football team. You've got to bring it.
They didn't bring it, obviously. And I don't think Rivera knows where this thing is going. And he laid the landmine himself when he said he had a 3-year plan. And it's just, people aren't going to forget that. And you've got coaches that are going into systems like Doug Peterson, the Jaguars. The Jaguars are better than us right now, and it's his first year. The Lions are better than us right now, and it's his second year. So with that being said, things can go faster than 3 years. It doesn't have to take that long. And obviously right now, this looks like a lot longer than a 3-year plan. I am not sure what it's going to take, because the heart and soul of what this team has been built on is an offensive line. That is our identity. That's why I think the Hog is going to be our mascot, because it's just a no-brainer. But your offensive line is the weakest link on your team. Plain and simple.
Yeah, okay. So you brought up something, Ted, and I'm going to get off on a tangent real quick. I understand our history. I understand our history. No disrespect to the great history of the Hogs, none whatsoever. But I think that when you try to continue to put this old school on this new school, you're pissing people off. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I want it to be a dog. I'm not gonna tell you I want it to be a hog. When it was brought up about the whole fight song, I said we're trying to do something new. Go away from that. And I know that's gonna piss some people off, but the fact of the matter is, this is what is called a rebrand or a reason. So that's just me. I for anybody who's trying to put words in my mouth, no, I love the Hogs when we were the Hogs. I love the Redskins when we were the Redskins, and that tradition will never leave me. It never will. But that's not what we are anymore. So at some point in time, you've got to cut ties. You just do.
I agree with you.
And some will agree, and maybe you will or you won't. But we've got to cut ties. If we're really going to be the Commanders or whatever you want to call us, then that has to be put away and move on.
And we talked about this before, not to rehash, just for we get new listeners all the time. What has frustrated me with this rebrand is it has felt half-ass. When you decide to make your hashtag HTTC because it's close to HTTR, that feels half-ass. When your new fight song is the same as the old fight song with 6 words changed, that feels half-ass. And don't tell me you're trying to throw a bone to the older fans. Sorry, it comes off as nothing but lazy. We have lost our name. It has been several years now. It was taken away from us. The least you could do is be prepared when you give us a new one. And I'm not going to go over the entire rebrand in 2222 and all that. Maybe that's for a live pod one day when we're not on mic. But a lot of this feels that they are flying by the seat of their pants. And for those old fans that are upset because we wore black and gold versus the Cowboys, get over it. People wanted a black jersey, and the team did what the fans asked. They gave us a black jersey. You don't like it? I'm sorry. If that's your biggest gripe, because it's supposed to be the Cowboys versus the Redskins and the burgundy and gold, wake up. All teams have different jerseys. No, we're not the Steelers RG3, okay? It is the Commanders that are out there, and you don't like it, you don't got to buy a jersey. I'm going to buy one the second they're out, but give me a break. It's still your team on the field, whether you like to admit it or not. And if you're yelling and screaming because we wore black and gold instead of burgundy and gold, cry me a river. I don't got time for your crap. I'm sorry. I just don't. But jumping back into it, speaking of RG3, and a lot of those sacks, not a lot, but some of those sacks last week versus the Eagles were on Carson. Mm-hmm. Robert joins the Sports Junkies every morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning here in the DC area. And this was actually what Robert had to say about Carson.
Carson's hair is red right now because he's under fire every time he drops back in the pocket. I mean, there's nothing that he can go through and process. They're trying to call some shorter pass plays for him, but even that, it's like 1.5, 2 seconds into his drop, he's getting pressure all over him. And I know last week was more of a week where you say, hey, you could probably put half of those sacks on Carson, if not more. But this week it really wasn't that. So right now Carson Wentz can't operate because he's not being protected. And then when he is protected, it's almost as if he's playing with no confidence and doesn't really trust what's in front of him. So how do you alleviate that? You run the ball, you move the pocket, because right now your offensive line just isn't getting the job done.
And the part in there where it looks like he's got no confidence, that's what scares me, because he looks shell-shocked. He looks like he is bracing for a hit when there is no one there. And to see that from a vet and someone of his pedigree, that is what concerns me the most, because he looks broken, man. He really does.
Well, you know, Ted, we talked about this before on some other episodes, and my coach told me about the internal clock, EIEIO throw. And if he is getting hit at EI, then when he finally does get to the EIEIO throw, he's expecting to get hit. And it, like you said, it shows it because he's way off. And it almost seems, and I know they're not going to do this, but it almost seems as though if by chance, and I don't know this for sure, so don't quote me on this. I'm just saying there's a if by chance he's lost the locker room, the offensive lineman has lost the locker room, then you're doing him and the team a disservice by continuing to put him out there. And yes, I said on my live on Facebook, the Carson Wentz experiment is over because just of how he looks. He doesn't look confident. And I don't think that he's going to ever get that confidence back unless we have maybe a good game and a half to 2 games where he doesn't get touched. Only then, and after then, will that confidence level comes back rather. But if it doesn't come back, then it's time to get a new guy in. And I don't care if it was, everybody says, well, Heineke could do better. Or I said, they said Tom Brady. I said, listen, guys, I don't care who you put back there. It doesn't matter. Whoever you put back there, the same result will happen. So let's stop this facade of Heineke. And now I will say this. We know what Heineke has, but you know what I would almost think about doing, Ted? Is bringing the third stringer on up, buddy.
That's what I want. I mean, I don't want it now because I don't agree with you that the experiment's over. It cannot be because you are paying him $28 million.
That's money, Ted. At some point in time, see, that's how, see what we just did? Well, we're paying him $28 million, but if it's a $28 million mistake, then own up that it's a mistake.
But it's week 4, bro. It's week 4. It's too early.
I understand that. I'm not, okay, we're on the same page. We are. It's too early. However, what I don't want to hear is, well, we're paying him $28 million. It happens, man. But it happens.
We're maybe in different parts of the page because you're saying the experiment's over. I'm saying it's not. I'm saying it cannot be over yet because you are paying him $28 million and he is a $20 million number next year that you are not beholden to. So the fact that we are 1-3 and there is a lot of football left is why I am saying the experiment is not over yet, because you've got Tennessee and you've got Chicago on the books, and we could easily in 10 days or less than that, or a little more than that, less than 2 weeks, be 3-3. So from my perspective, you have to ride Carson. And let me tell you how long. You got to ride Carson. And this was a tweet from Mitch Tischler. You got to ride him all the way until the Giants game in week 13, because if Carson plays over 70% of the snaps, then that means you give the Colts a 2nd round pick versus a 3rd round pick. But right now, Carson's on the books. He's not going anywhere. And if he can get the magic back, if he can be Stella and find his groove, then you've got to give him a couple more weeks to do that. But when it is time to bench Carson, when it is time for him to sit down, if that does come, Heineke better not step on that field as a starter, because we know what Heineke's got. And we know Heineke does not have what we need as a franchise to win. It better be Sam Howell, because that young man needs a shot to prove himself, because we don't know what he can do. We know what he did in college, but we don't know what he can do in the pros. And we know he has a better arm than Heineke. You got a better arm than Heineke, probably. And Howell can run. So you put in Sam, and I agree with you 1,000%. You give Sam a shot when it is time to put someone else in other than that redhead. you don't put Heineke in, because Heineke is a backup and will be nothing but a backup in this league. And that's why he was sleeping on his sister's couch. And that's why he will not be on this team next year unless it completely blows up and both of those guys get hurt.
Okay. And what I'm going to say is this. If Carson continues to look shell-shocked and out of sorts with himself, and he is continuing to make the bad plays and throws as a veteran quarterback that we've seen, and you start to see the morale of the team go down, then regardless, my point I was trying to make was, regardless of how much you paid him, regardless of any of the other type of stuff, when the team morale starts going down and you've lost the team, and that hypothetically, Ted, could be week 7.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
it could be next week. It could be. If the morale is going down to the point where guys are like, okay, good example, body language. Yeah, I told you I saw from Gibson last week. I didn't see the body language from Gibson this week, maybe because I couldn't see the sidelines, but I didn't see that body language. When you see those shoulders getting slumped and those heads start going down and other proverbial things that go along with it, then that's the time, man. There is no such thing as, well, we got to wait till week 15 to try to know. Because as you said, we are still in it. But if we're still in it and that body language is taking that course, then that's the time. That's the magic of it.
So
that's
let's be realistic. We are in it from the fact that we're 1-3, but this is not a playoff team. I did not picture us going to the playoffs. At no point in time have I ever thought that we would win more than 8 games this season. So really, I don't care about the playoffs. And for those fans that are saying that's blasphemous, I'm sorry. Wake up and look at what you're paying attention to. This team has too many holes at offensive line, at defensive back, at linebacker. We are not a playoff team. So if you think putting Heineke in is going to sneak us into the playoffs, we are 0-2 in our division and 0-3 in the NFC. We ain't making the playoffs. And it's October 3rd, and it sucks to say, but it doesn't suck as much if you realize we weren't going to get there in the first place. The thing is, we don't know what we have with him. And I agree with you. If you start to lose that locker room, and the guys on the Washington Football Talk pod talked about this last night, Rivera sat Haskins because he said there are 52 other guys that he has to worry about. And I understand that. And I get that 1,000%. But you have to make sure that this has completely failed, that this train is never getting back on those tracks. And it is, in my opinion, way too soon to do that. One thing that has been frustrating is Mark Bullock. If you look at the next gen stats, 12 of Carson's 25 completions yesterday were at or before the line of scrimmage. 12 of his 25 completions were at the line of scrimmage. We're getting the box stacked up against us. You've got 8 people in the box. It's apparent that Carson can't audible, or they're not letting him audible for whatever reason. So that box is stacked. It is full. He averaged 4 yards a pass yesterday because 12 of his throws were at the line or before it. 9 came within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Only 2 passes were beyond 10 yards. And is that because he doesn't have time to throw? Yes, I'm sure that is part of it. But the other part of the fact is there is play calling issues. There's issues all around on that offense, and that offense is poor. And there was a play in the game where it was, I want to say it was 2nd and 10, and we got a holding penalty, and it would have moved it to 3rd and 10. The Cowboys took the penalty. Most teams would decline that holding penalty because you'd rather go to 3rd and 10 versus 2nd and 20, because that gives you 2 more downs to potentially get those extra yards. The Cowboys took the penalty because they wanted to pin their ears back and come after Carson and come after us. That's completely off script in what teams would do, because they know that they can get a chance to go after that guy, and everything we are doing right now is telegraphed.
Yeah.
That's what is so frustrating.
Put more fear into him by coming after him. Yeah.
And they got pressure rushing 3 at times. Carson is not seeing the pocket. There was a screen he was trying to set up, and he kept backing up and backing up and backing up. And Cosme was getting rushed by Lawrence. And if Carson just would have stepped up versus backing up a million times, then he would have been fine. But he just isn't seeing it. And the 2 intentional groundings, I'm sorry, but those were intentional groundings. You've got a rocket of an arm. You got away from Micah Parsons. You broke free from him. Throw the damn ball away. I don't understand what he was trying to do, and he's trying to do too much, and it is snowballing, and it is just getting frustrating to watch and frustrating to see because your offensive line is not going to change. So what are you going to do? What can you do? And really, all you can do is potentially, and this is another quote that Robert said, was you have to change your offensive identity. When he was here with the Shanahans and they realized they didn't have the right offensive line to run the Shanahan scheme, they had to completely change what they had gone through training camp, through practice, through preseason, and evolve that offense. And we did that last year during the bye week, and we started running the ball more. And we had 101 yards on the ground in the first half. The problem is, and you tell me, because you were there, I did not see a pass play set up by what we did with the run. And way I'm bringing that up is you could tell with offenses of the past when it was a run or when it was a pass, because you would have different tight ends come in. If Jordan Reed's in, 9 out of 10 times, it's a pass. If Jordan Reed isn't in, we're going to run the ball. It's those things. You can't really tell that with our player personnel, but the runs don't mimic the actual passes. So the defense is getting tells on what we're doing, and we have become predictable, and it's only week 4.
Well, I'll tell you a guy who I thought seemed to possibly be able to set the pass up, and I don't remember his name, but he came in and relieved JB. I'm sorry, Antonio AB. He came in and he moved the chains. This running back, I don't know who he was.
Jonathan Williams. Is that what you're talking
Jonathan
about?
Williams.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Williams did well.
Oh, and so I said, keep that dude in. Let him continue. But I think for whatever reason, we get into this whole, well, AG is our guy. We want to, Antonio Gibson is our guy. We want to see, and I get it. Trust me, I do. But at some point in time, when there's a spark, stay with the spark. And for whatever reason, it just seems as though we're so quick to move on. And yeah, you may hurt Antonio Gibson's feelings. I get it. Love the guy to death. But if that guy came in and did what he did and provided a spark, all it takes a lot of times, Ted, and you played sports. One guy comes in and you go, whoa, where'd that guy come from? And that guy comes in and says, hey man, I'm here for you guys. Let's do this. And he does what he did. It's little things like that can provide a spark. And the defense is like, well, wait a minute, who's this kid? We didn't account for him. Now you can move it and do something different. And that's what I did see. And I really need to pay more attention to this kid. But he really, to me, was going to be a spark that we let fizzle out.
You ride that hot hand. And they got away from the run. We got down by a touchdown.
Yeah.
They went back to their tendencies and started going and running formation or passing formations, empty back sets, and they just went back to what they were used to. And that is a problem with Scott Turner, whether it's a problem with him sitting on the sideline and not being in the box or what. But Jonathan Williams had 5 carries for 48 yards. He busted 1 for 23. Right. JD McKissick busted 1 for 33. It's just, why did you go away from those things? And we became way too predictable. You could sense when the screens were coming. You can sense when the draws were coming. And if I can see it sitting on my couch and you can see it sitting in the stands, what do you think a Dallas defensive coordinator was seeing? Mm-hmm. They are licking their chops because we have become too predictable. And the good news is the team just activated Brian Robinson off of the non-football injury list. So come Wednesday, they're going to see what he can do. And that may be the jolt that we need to potentially get this offense moving. But realistically, he can only do so much because it's about those three guys up front. When I say three, I mean your center, guard, and guard, that interior that need to open up those holes, because they weren't doing it all the time. But we got the ground game going. We were down 7-12 at halftime.
Yeah.
101 yards on the ground at the half. Why did you go away from that game plan? I don't understand that. If you think that Carson dropping back 42 times is a successful strategy to win, you're wrong. If you put the ball in Carson's hands 42 times, you didn't watch what he did with the Colts last year. The Colts were successful because of, what's it, Jonathan Taylor is that guy's name, right?
Yeah,
they were successful because of him, and there were games where Carson had less than 200 yards, a majority of them. Carson is a game manager at this point in his career. He is not going to go out and crush and win that game for you.
No.
You've got other workhorses, and I don't get why they are not giving the other people on this team that were a chance to see, that were succeeding, a bigger chance. And, you know, forget the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we've talked about it ad nauseum this week. You know, we got a couple of voicemails from some listeners, and I really appreciate you guys chiming in. The first we're going to play here is Dave from Connecticut.
Yeah, hi, this is Dave from Connecticut. I think we should just blow it all up and start over again. We had 4 of the brightest young coaches in our building, and we let every one of them go, only to have great success elsewhere. It's truly maddening. Hail.
And Dave, I agree with you. I just don't think they're going to do it. So I got to go on the Fox 5 postgame show, and I thought we were going to talk about X's and O's, and they wanted to talk about some other stuff. And that's fine. It was what it was. But they asked me, how do you fix this? And I basically said that as a fan base, we are in limbo right now because Rivera has 2 years on his contract. Coaching contracts are guaranteed. You are not going to fire Rivera, you meaning Snyder, and have him sit on his couch for the next 2 seasons, paying him all that money, and then bring someone else in. He is going to survive through this season. Everyone yelling for his job, EB on the Junkies, asking Ron Rivera to resign. I get it. That's shock jock radio stuff. All you fans thinking that Rivera should be fired today, it ain't going to happen. I'm breaking it to you. It's about money. Snyder doesn't have a ton of money to do that. He cannot afford to. And keep in mind, when you fire Rivera, you are going to have to let go of everybody because Rivera was the person at the top that hired all these other guys. Marty, Martin, Jack, Scott, all those guys. And who are you going to have come in? Rivera probably should go at the offseason, but I don't think he will. So we're going to be in limbo as a fan base for the next 2 years, unless they're a blind squirrel and they find a nut and lockbox themselves into something. But the revisionist history about we let Matt LaFleur go, we let Kyle Shanahan go, we let Sean McVay go. Go back and look at the dates. Gruden got us a division. We got to the playoffs and they extended him. You were not going to pull a Washington Capitals and hire his assistant. And on top of that, Sean McVay is on the record saying, even if the Commanders or the Redskins at the time offered him a job, he wasn't going to take it. He's not going to try and upend a job from his mentor. Gruden was his mentor. Gruden is a consultant for him to this day. McVay was never going to stay here. McVay was never an option. Stop yelling and screaming about it and get over it. They weren't going to stick around. And do you think Kyle would have stuck around after how he did his dad dirty?
No. Yeah.
LaFleur was a quarterback coach. You're going to promote a quarterback coach to a head coach? Stop. You guys got to stop living in the past and be realistic for a change. These guys were never head coach material at that point in time. And then when you let go of those coaches, a new coach is going to bring in his own regime. They're not going to stick around.
They always do. They always
So give me a
do.
break, people.
And not only that, that coach is going to bring in his quarterback. So who's ever on our squad right now, count your blessings, because if a new coach comes in, he's going to get rid of everybody and bring in the guy who he wants.
And the thing is, I'm saying we're in limbo. I'm going to be here. And I know, Rally, you're going to be here for years to come. We ain't going anywhere. And a question they asked me on Fox
God
Oh
willing,
yeah, amen. You know, unless the Heavenly Father asks us to go someplace a little earlier than we hope. But a question they asked me on TV was, what's it going to take for you to leave? I'm not going anywhere. I love this team. I'm a fan of this team. And frankly, I was insulted by the question, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And those of you that have had enough, then okay, fine. I can't blame you. I can't fault you for, you know, this being the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm going to say, why this? Maybe the name, maybe a couple other things, but this is actually what Darren Haynes asked Rivera today about social media and the fan base.
Hey, Ron. Hold on, let me. My question will be is, you know, on social media, you have fans that may say certain things. Obviously, you can't believe everything you see on social media, but there are a lot of fans that are upset on where the team is right now. Do you feel that pressure from the fans on how maybe upset they are on where the team is standing?
Well, I tell you right now, a lot of things that I do is not dictated to me by what's out there on social media. I like to believe I'm responsible, and I understand enough to know, though, that the fans are going to be frustrated. I don't doubt that. I really don't. I understand the history of what's gone on here for a while, and we're trying to change that. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be easy. If anybody thought it's going to be easy, they're crazy. You know, I honestly tried to get that across last season, but let's just be realistic about it. I get it. I understand it. And we're going to keep playing hard. That's the only thing we can do, Darren, until we get to the situation and to the point where we really believe that this is where what we need. Everybody's in place. Everybody's healthy. Everything's rolling. You just, it's not going to change. We're going to continue to work hard and continue to try and mature and grow as a football team. This is going to take time. It's a process. Now, how much time do we have? That's up to you guys. Whatever, however, and whenever it's looked at. You know, if we can paint a picture of hope, we can paint a picture of growth and development, paint a picture of doing things the right way, we got a chance. And that's what I'm going to preach with our players. You know, we're going to focus in on what we try to do and what we got to do. Like I said, I understand, I respect their frustrations as fans. I get it. You know, I was in Carolina when we showed up there and they were 2-14, and I heard the frustration. We worked our butts off to try and get it to where it was. You know, I got here. I understand everybody's frustration, especially how proud this organization is. Shit, this organization's got 5 championships. Are you fucking kidding me? I get it. I understand how important it is to win. Okay, but I got to be realistic with what we have and what we're going to do. Now, some of it we can improve on as coaches and get better at, and we have to. There is a sense of urgency that these things have to happen, but they're not going to happen until everything's in place and it's ready to happen. So we got to continue to work and make sure that's happening. As far as the players are concerned, they've got to continue to grow. They got to mature. They got to understand what their responsibility in this is as well. So yeah, we get it and understand it. You know, whether it's the average fan on the street or it's the average fan that's on Twitter, I guess, or social media that wants to gripe, that's great. They're entitled to, but just understand, we understand it. We get it. When you're in this league long enough and been doing it for as long as some of us have, you know that with the downs, things get tough. With the ups, things get happy, and everybody's, you know, enjoying life. So we just have to understand what's at stake, continue to work hard, and keep pushing in the same direction. And when it's ready to turn and flip, it will. And we've got to do everything we can in the meantime to try and expedite that.
With all due respect, Ron Rivera, you don't understand it. You don't understand what this fan base is going through. You just got here. You've been here for a cup of coffee. We've been here our entire lives. So don't tell me you understand it. Don't try and commiserate with me, because you have told us you've got a 3-year plan and you are 2 years and a quarter in. 2 years and a quarter in. And I'm sorry, I don't see growth. I see regression. And that is why this fan base is so frustrated. That is why social media is going crazy and calling for your head. You just got here. You don't understand it.
Man, so when he had his opening presser 2 years ago, I was ready to run through a brick wall for that man. I was like, it was a breath of fresh air, brother. And I thought that he was going to be just bring in this whole complete new thing and just, and not to say that our first year, we were going to go to the Super Bowl or anything like that. But it gave me a sense of hope. Like I said, I was ready to run through a brick wall for the man, just hearing it, because we hadn't heard that type of talk in a long time. Well, now here it is 2 years in, and like you said, there just doesn't seem to be truly a motivating factor. We're tired of talking. And for those of you who are just listening and not watching our YouTube channel, my hands are doing proverbial quotes. We're tired of hearing the chat, the talk. We want to see action. And right now we aren't seeing action, but we're getting a lot of talking.
We all have that friend that says they're going to do something. And after a certain point, it's almost like the boy who cried wolf, because you just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. All right, man, I'll catch you out there. Okay, yeah, I know you'll get to it. But all you hear every time is excuses and excuses and excuses. It's been going on 3 years of excuses now. We never should have won the division.
No.
You're apologizing for winning the division? You're apologizing for luck boxing your way into a chance at doing something? Then you use that as an excuse. Well, that gave us a false sense of hope. No, it didn't. We won the division in a horrible year against garbage quarterbacks that are not starting in the league anymore. So if you would be honest with us for a change, maybe you would get some slack from the fan base instead of giving us empty platitudes and just no answers at all. The answer that you disrespectfully gave to Ben Standing about an audible. We're not a dumb fan base. We're not a dumb town. You mentioned it yourself, 5 championships. We know about this game. We love this game and we love this team. And right now, I'm so frustrated because I don't see you doing anything to make this team better.
And it's rough, bro. It's rough. And as you said, we as fans, we deserve better. We want better. And I'm not going to leave until it gets better. And even after it gets better, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to be here and just say this is what we should have had a long time ago. So some shape, form, or fashion, get it together, Ron. That's all we ask for, man. And if it means blowing up some of your coaching staff, I mean, you made the change earlier for the defense coordinator. So maybe it's time. I'm not defense coordinator, but defensive
line.
Yeah, defensive line guy. Then you might want to go ahead and next time go all out, because at some point in time, we've had many coaches who have fallen on the sword. Ron, who are you going to put on the sword? Because at this point, the fans are calling for somebody's head, even maybe yours.
And I don't think firing somebody's going to fix this, because who else are you going to bring in? Fire Scott Turner? Who's going to call plays? Ken Zampese, maybe. But is that going to fix the problem?
I don't mean mid-season.
No, I know.
Yeah,
but you've got fans that are screaming for it right now. Fire Scott Turner. Fire Jack Del Rio. I mean, we got a Facebook message here saying, in all honesty, and this is from Jason Ferris, I'd like to finally see a head coach finish their contract, but I just don't see this team heading in the right direction. Ron had a chance to fire Del Rio and he still kept him around. I remember how disappointed yourself and the fan base were when they brought in Wentz. He showed some signs of a decent quarterback, but he's not the answer. I never thought I'd watch a quarterback take 9 sacks in one game. The defense gives up at least one huge play almost every drive. Turner's play calling is very suspect at times. This Sunday is a must win. It's so sad to be at this point already in the season. I don't see how anyone could advocate to keep Ron around for 2 more years. And Jason, I agree with you. I think that this is a must win, not from a numbers perspective, but if you want to get fans back in the stands, because it's against the Tennessee Titans. You're going to worry about them coming here. I don't think Ron can stay for 2 more years to live out his contract, because most coaches don't live out a lame duck year in their contract. They just don't. And you lose the respect and I guess the voice of the players, if you will, because they know you're not going to be here next year. So, it's interesting thought. Steve Wilmoth on your Rally Captain page says, bring the name back and fire Jack Del Loser and a new offensive coach. And
Bring back what name?
the old name.
Oh.
Steve wants us to bring back Redskins because we won a lot with that name recently, I guess. And he wants us to fire Jack Del Loser. And I'm not trying to mock you, Steve, but you know, unfortunately, the name isn't coming back, man. It's not. And whether you like the new one or not,
We are the Commanders.
it's not going anywhere. And firing Jack Del Rio, Jack has not been the problem this past 2 weeks. And this is from Grant Paulson on Twitter. We've only allowed 135 rushing yards over the past 2 weeks. That's 2.3 yards per carry. And that was with losing Phil Mathis and Daniel Wise. So the defense, to a degree, has stepped up and they have kept the offense in games. The offense has failed to live up to their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Dallas had how many field goals in the first half? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The offense has to, at a certain point, do something. If you were to tell me that we were going to hold Dallas to 12 points in the first half, I'm thinking we're winning that game.
No doubt. So, and that was the feeling in the stands, bro. When Jahan caught that ball, it was in my end zone, my corner end zone. I was sitting right there. And I called. I said, you know what? They're going to the corner with this play. I just felt it. I'm not going to sit there and say I'm some play calling guru. I just felt, I said, man, they're going to come to this corner end zone with this play. And sure enough, the next play was right in the corner. And I said, whoa, it's a different ball game. We are in this thing, man. Let's get this thing done and leave Dallas victorious. Nah, didn't happen.
It didn't. And there was a play that it might have been your end zone that really frustrated the hell out of me because it was third and basically, I don't want to say goal, but we could get to the 1 yard line and still get a first down. And they were rushing to the line of scrimmage to get that ball off. And we were 2 scores down. It was unbelievably important that we had to go. We were down by, I want to say, we were down by 2 scores. Kicking a field goal would have done absolutely nothing. We still would have been down by 9 at that point. And you can see the clock ticking. They barely got the ball off. The guys weren't set. They weren't ready. Carson got sacked. Shocker. Well, 4th down, I think it was maybe 4th and 15, we had to go for it because once again, a field goal doesn't matter. Then is when that's when you call a timeout, Rivera. You call a timeout then on 4th and 15 in the red zone when you're right there. Why didn't you call a timeout on 3rd down when your team was struggling to get to the line of scrimmage and actually call the play that was run, knowing that it's 2 down territory, knowing that you have got to get in there for 6. And it's those things, man, that frustrate me. On top of the personnel issues, it's the coaching blunders that show up.
Okay, I got a question for you as well as our listeners. So you're down 15 points, 16 points, and it's the 4th quarter, and you've got 2 minutes or 3 minutes left on the clock. Why do they call timeout? You ain't winning nothing. Let that clock tick and be over with. Why are you prolonging this death sentence? Can you explain that to me, please? And I'm all ears, brother. I want to hear it.
And you know what pissed me off? I have people attacking me on Twitter, and I don't care. I'm going to send you a screenshot of this threat I got from a Cowboy fan. It'll crack you up. Guy actually has a picture in front of my house. But I tweeted out when there was 2 minutes left in the game and we're down by 16, why is Logan Thomas still on the field? You said yourself, Rivera, that he is not 100%. Why is he out there for meaningless snaps, meaningless reps?
Yeah.
Wentz threw a pass to Logan Thomas with 1:53 left out of shotgun and it was incomplete. Logan Thomas is coming back from a major knee injury and you still have him in the game at that point in time? Just asinine to me. Put in John Bates, put in Armani Rogers. Don't put in Logan Thomas because if he goes down, then you really got a problem. And then you'll really have people coming for your head.
Back to square one.
It just
can you enlighten me about that though, man?
No, man. I mean, it makes no sense because at a certain point, you know, the Bill Callahan method of football. Let's just grind it out, let the clock run, and just get the hell out of here because we got beat. We weren't coming back.
No. We did it. We did it at home. We did it in Detroit. I said, we're not. Why are you doggone calling timeouts, prolonging this misery? Just get it over with.
It reminded me of the Eagles game at FedEx when, and I love Premonition, he's my boy, but they played "We're Not Gonna Take It." We're down by 3 scores, and you're playing that right now in the fourth quarter. It's about situational awareness. And speaking of, Carson, why are you picking on Trayvon Diggs? Why are you going against Diggs when you've got Terry one-on-one with someone else?
Yeah. That shocked me too.
Come on, man. It's unbelievably frustrating. We got another call here from Brendan.
Hello, this is Brendan. Hi, I'm calling because you're asking what was wrong with the team. The biggest problem with the team right now is the offensive line. Everyone's blaming Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz is only as good as his offensive line. And the problem is these guys, especially in the interior, are not getting protection. And, I hope Brian Robinson coming back might be a boost in the arm, but still, I mean, they've got to get better play from Norwell. They got to get better play from the center position and the other guard position. I mean, Trey Turner, whoever. It's just, Russ Grimm, Joe Jacoby, and Jim Lachey aren't walking through that door. These guys have got to play better.
Thank you for calling in, Brendan, and I really appreciate that. And I agree. They've got to play better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. It comes down to playing better. And Ted, I will tell you from the get-go, I told you, I take it all the way back to training camp. You cheated yourself by not having a joint practice to truly see what your guys were capable of.
Amen.
And that's all I'm going to say about that.
No, you're 100% spot on. I mean, B. Mitch, and, I quote B a lot because I respect him tremendously. He's a friend, and, he knows what he is looking at. And this is week 4. You don't play your starters during preseason. You don't get them meaningful reps, meaningful snaps. You don't bring in another team for them to scrimmage to play against. When I want to say the stat was 22 teams in the NFL brought in an opponent to their training camp. And we had fans saying, well, you don't want them to do that because then they're getting into fights. Well, you know what? Maybe they would show some heart and maybe they would build some camaraderie and do something at that point if they got into a fight in training camp against another team. Because right now, I'm not seeing heart from this team. I'm seeing it from John Allen. John Allen played his ass off.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it from Deron Payne.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it from certain small pockets of this team, but I'm not seeing it from this team. And you did not challenge them. And you did not put them in the best situation possible to succeed in this season. And that's just what I got a problem with. And we got an email here from Tim. Tim, been listening for a while. He asked, do you think Gene Medina was brought on as chief communication officer because major bad news is on the horizon, or was it already an open position? And Tim, I reached out to the team about this. I did not hear back. I tried to see if there was a chief communications officer in place beforehand, and I did not see that there was one. I saw that there was a senior VP of communications that was hired in 2020, but I did not see a chief communications officer. As a fan of this team, you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And the Wilkinson report is not going to get released. That shoe's been put back on in the NFL, put it away in the closet. But there is another report that we are all still waiting for that is not out yet. And who knows when that's going to be. The NFL typically likes to release reports during slow news cycles when it's just going to get swept under the rug. So I'm not envisioning that report to get leaked anytime soon or out anytime or something happening during the season, because I don't think the NFL is going to want that scandal or whatever comes out of it to happen during the season. And the fact of the matter is, Snyder testified in front of Congress over 60 days ago. 60 days since he sat and had his testimony.
That long ago? Wow, I thought it was shorter than that. Man, how time flies.
Yeah, I was on ESPN 9, Team 980 talking about it. And if something was going to come out of that, it would have come out by now. It's an election year, okay? All those talking heads on Capitol Hill want to make a name for themselves. And if they could have been the one to ask Dan Snyder a damning question, then they would have ran to the hills and started talking about it. Nothing has come out with that testimony. Bruce Allen testified. Nothing's come out. I don't think anything is going to come out from that standpoint, but all I care about is the truth. And if something does come out, as long as it's the truth, then good or bad, I'm fine with it. I don't know. What say you?
The chips fall where they fall, man. That's how it is. That smoking gun tactic or aspect is over with. That gun is put away. It's got a lockbox on it. So we ain't gonna rehash it unless by chance something new comes about, some type of new evidence comes about. But for the most part, it's done. So let's move on.
Yeah. And speaking of move on, this was a Facebook post from Derek Williams. Derek's a good friend. His father was Chief Z. So I'm sure everyone listening knows who that is. And Derek says, I agree with comments regarding coaching and ownership. But in the meantime, our best chance to win is a mobile quarterback. Time for a change. Heineke was more effective with a subpar O-line. Get Logan Thomas more involved. He definitely needs more touches. He's a matchup nightmare, and offense needs to run more screen passes to slow down the pass rush. I watched Green Bay throw quick passes all night with success. We have too many explosive weapons on offense that's not touching the ball. Give them the damn ball. And Derek, thanks for chiming in and contributing to the show. I appreciate you, and I love you, brother. I don't agree with you on Heineke. You know, we talked about it, not to rehash it. Heineke's going to get you what? 6 wins? What's 6 wins going to do? It's not going to do anything for me.
Well, I honestly think that Heineke disguised the inefficiencies in our line, just like I think Robert back in the day. Our line really wasn't that good under RG3, but because of RG3's ability to be able to get out of the pocket and his speed, that is what kept our O-line looking somewhat good. So we're just seeing what our O-line is really capable of. So if you bring in a mobile quarterback, the problem with a lot of times bringing in a mobile quarterback is you keep these, if you want to say retread linemen in, because they don't have to do as much because your quarterback can bail them out with his feet. So at some point in time, bring in the horses, bring in the big dogs, rebuild your line the way it's supposed to be done if you truly want a true pocket passing quarterback.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is we haven't invested in that offensive line. You've got Sam Cosmi, but you have missed on your other picks.
Yeah.
And in regards to the screens, they tried. We talked about it. 12 of 25 completions, 12 of 25 completions were at or before the line of scrimmage. They tried that quick game. They tried those slip screens, those bubble screens, those tight end screens. It didn't work. And check the YouTube, because I'm going to put this picture up from Next Gen Stats. They tried. The Cowboys just know that our offensive line can't block. And when your team can't block, you got to get the ball out faster. So those DBs and those linebackers were cheating up for those short routes. They say, get the ball to Terry, get the ball to Terry. When the defense knows that you are one-dimensional, and one of our keys to the game was turning Dallas one-dimensional. We shut down their running attack. We couldn't stop the passing attack. The thing is, we are one-dimensional. We are predictable. This offensive game plan is predictable from a passing perspective. So the DBs are cheating. They're playing up to the line because they know what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And they know we can't protect Carson long enough for a guy to pull a double move, for a guy to go over top, because the O-line's not giving him enough time. So at a certain point, it is a manhood test. You can scheme and game plan all you want, but unless you can execute, and that's what the issue is, it's execution, your game plan means nothing. One of the best quotes that I remember from the Hogs back in the day was the offensive line literally telling the people they were going against where they were running the football. Literally telling the defense, we're running here, you stop us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't got to tell people where we're running because they know where we're going. And guess what? They are stopping us right now.
Huge.
So until you can actually block, until you can actually, hopefully give Carson more than a second and a half worth of time, it's going to be a long year, because I don't think someone's coming in off the street to fix this. And you're going to have to change what you're doing, Scott Turner. You're going to have to maybe move to a double tight end set and bring in a fullback and go max protect and try and get something developed on the ground to hopefully have teams respect your play action pass. Because we talked about it on Wednesday and everyone else started talking about it on Thursday, Friday, leading up to the game. Nobody respects it right now. And that is a problem. And
what offense was that we would run like with RG? So you'd have a fullback, maybe a tight end. It's almost like the wishbone a little bit, but they were brought in max protect, and it would work because there were just so many different ways, variations that plays you could run out of that formation. But hey, that was then. This is now. It's up to those guys to fix it, not us. All we can do is be as fans and continue to root for our team, win, lose, or draw, or tie.
It is, man. And we've got more letters here, and it's all negative. I kind of want to.
No positive. Give me one positive. Any positive. Slightly positive, and then we got to move on. One slightly positive, if you can find one.
I'm scrolling, man. I can't find one. I can't. We've got 15 of them in here, and we're already going in an hour and 15. I don't want to beat us over the head some more with all this. I do appreciate you guys all chiming in. Thank you guys for sending those in. Thank you for listening and subscribing. Who do you give, or would you give a rally chain to this week?
I would give the rally chain to if I could slice it up into thirds, I would. So for me, because it's my chain, I will cut that sucker up. So Payne, Allen, Jahan, those are the three who get to wear pieces of the rally chain.
That's not bad. I don't hate on that. And I was trying to think, and I'm a believer that no one should get it after we get our butt kicked. But if it's me, and I'm not trying to say this to be funny, but it's got to go to Tress Way. Tress should be special teams player of the week. He pinned the Cowboys inside their own 20 5 times. Inside the 20 5 times and averaged 45.5 net yards per punt. And we had the field position in this game. That was the other part that was starting to get so frustrating. Other than one Dax Milne kickoff that idiot took the ball out of the end zone 2 yards in and got to the 16, we were winning the game in field position because of Tress, because of his leg. And he had a heck of a day, and he did a good job. And hats off to him. So I would give my rally chain to Tress. And like I said, I'm not saying that to be funny because he has been one of our best players.
Yeah, he has.
This is a winnable game against Tennessee. And we're going to get into it with a guy from the Tennessee Titans beat. We're going to bring him on this Wednesday, trying to get schedules to sync up and everything else. Don't jump ship yet, guys. I know I'm saying we're not going to be a playoff team, but we still have a chance to be competitive. And that's all I want to see is competitive football. And what we've seen the past 2 weeks has not been competitive. And I get that, but we have a chance to be competitive versus Tennessee. We have a chance to be competitive versus Chicago. Don't give up on it yet.
Well, Ted, I'm gonna be a little bit opposite. And I've always said this. What you do with your fandomship is what you do. So if it means that you need to leave, then by all means, go ahead and leave. We don't want to hold your hand. We don't want to, but if it means that you need to leave because you just can't take it anymore, then by all means, I'm not going to look at you any differently. I'm not. But for everybody that's still here, rooting for the team the way that they need to be rooted for, then we'll stick with it. But if by chance you do want to leave, hey, I'm not gonna hold it against you. I'm not, because being with the losing squad for as long as we've had, it is nerve-wracking. And on that note, you guys continue to listen in, subscribe, send in your questions and calls, because we're here for it. We're all in this boat together, baby.
We are, man. And thank you guys for sticking through it with us. And, Rally and I are going to be here, and we ain't going anywhere. We got a long season ahead of us, and there are going to be ups, and there are definitely going to be some downs. But we're just glad that we're able to ride this roller coaster with all of you guys listening. So thank you.
That's right. And once again, as I say from week to week, Rep it hard. Or don't rep it at all. Rally Captain. Tailgate Ted. Ow!